Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back to Hearthstone. So, it's April 9th still. If you probably got a whole week of this now if you're watching this recorded. I need to get 2 more victories with the Rogue and Warrior, and we're not making great progress there. And 1 more victory with the Paladin and Priest. I'm down to just casual play, not trying to get any ranked play. So Rogue and Warrior. What is my other Warrior deck? I don't think I've touched that one. We have this Death Rattle attack. I don't think I've played this one, so we'll play that. So Persona 5, just now I'm getting the Persona 5, has also been a has been another controversy. So Persona 5, some fans are not happy with the localization on that. Honestly, I feel like that's probably always going to be the case. This is more of an elemental deck. I guess I did build an elemental deck. Interesting. I need to relabel this one then, if this is an elemental deck. Because that's not what I labeled it as. I labeled it as a Death Rattle deck. So some fans are not happy with the localization, but that was probably going to happen no matter what. It's to be expected. When you get people who love Japan, the weeaboos as they're called, which is kind of an insulting term, but a lot of people translate Japanese literally, and a lot of people translate Japanese more contextually, and Japanese as a language is very subtle. So it's I've heard stories where 2 fluent English to Japanese translators, both from Japan, get in an argument against each other, arguing what a single sentence means, because it's such a subtle language you can translate it to it. So arguably the Japanese themselves don't even know what they're saying to each other, just the general gist of it, and they're just too polite to say anything. That might be the case sometimes. So localization issues is always the thing. If you're from people, if you've dealt with anime for a long enough time, you know anime fans always hate the localizations on a bunch of them. The worst case example of this that was kind of funny is they released a show called Ghost Stories, where they just threw the entire script out and didn't even care what it was about. It was just a kids show that was that told Japanese ghost stories, and it was kind of like Scooby-Doo, a Japanese version of Scooby-Doo. And when they brought it to America, they threw away the script because they knew it wasn't going to sell as that anyways. And they just had the voice actors like ad-lib everything, and so they added a bunch of profanity and dirty jokes, and it kind of worked and made it kind of funny to watch this kid's cartoon just be kind of mockingly made. But usually, almost every other case, they don't do that bad of a job localization. Usually they're pretty accurate. And then that issue certainly gets made worse when you have fan subs and fan dubs of anime. So then the official release has something different than what the way the fans translated it. Then the fans are not happy about that. But that is hardly the big reason. Lo weeaboo? Yeah, weeaboo. I don't think you spell it that way, Loki, but yeah, weeaboo is a derogatory term for a foreigner who's obsessed with Japan. More often than not, actual fans will just call themselves otaku, but for fanatics. But But if you're trying to be derogatory, both of those are Japanese phrases that are getting misused and misappropriated. Otaku, in particular, has an interesting history, and for a long time, it wasn't used in Japan because there was a serial killer that in Japan that they caught, and his house was just full of anime, and so they called him the otaku killer. And so for many decades they didn't use that phrase, or it was an insulting phrase if it was used. But nowadays they kind of sometimes will use it. But yeah, it means different things in different countries. Getting back to Persona, which is a heavily anime-inspired thing, and there are Persona animes, so this is almost on topic, this conversation I'm having. The real problem in this, when we talk about games to boycott, since we talked about Total Biscuit boycotting G2A and Gearbox because Gearbox was going to work with G2A, another example of a game to potentially boycott, if you so choose. I'm not telling anybody to do anything they don't want to do, but would be Persona 5. Because the Japanese, mostly Japanese side of Atlas has come out and said, you have to follow these extremely strict regulations if you want to stream Persona 5. And people are not happy with it, and they have no reason to be happy with it. This is typical of something that we thought even Japan was starting to get away from their extremely cautious abuse of copyright and defense of copyright. But this just came out of the blue, and they literally created bad press for themselves for just to send this out. They've Atlas, mostly Japan Atlas, but maybe North American Atlas too, has threatened to Content ID and DMC strike and potentially suspend your entire channel, which they don't, to my knowledge, have the authority to do, but they can DMCA strike to give you enough copyright strikes to cause that to happen on YouTube in particular, because Content ID is only a YouTube system. And DMCA strikes are only a YouTube system too. You can get a DMCA on other services, certainly, but you don't get strikes or have a strike system like on YouTube and any other service. So, what are their incredibly strict things? You can have videos no longer than 90 minutes, but you can have as many videos as you like. Persona 5 being a RPG dungeon crawler, I imagine if you were going to stream the whole game like I would want to, this wouldn't probably hurt me too much. It would just stop me from doing like a live stream of the entire game for a considerably long amount of time. And in a lot of ways that almost seems slightly fair, to say don't just stream the entire game. If it was a request, I would think it is almost a strike, but this one's not too bad even, though, because as long as you can do as many videos as you want, you could do hour-long things and do like 50 episodes, and that's what I would do. You can do no major story spoilers, but they're not telling you what the major story spoilers that they don't want you to do is. So it's up to your own good discretion, is what they said, to determine whether or not what you're showing is a major story spoiler. Which is a major problem for me, because if I want to criticize and be a video game critic, I'm going to show and talk about the major story elements. Frankly, that means they don't want you to show any of the cutscenes either. So that means you could only show probably the worst parts of Persona 5. The beginnings of dungeons, grinding through dungeons, and then when you get to the boss of a dungeon, you can't do it. You can't show any of the boss fights except for the very first boss fight, as I understand it, according to their rules. And then they don't want you to focus solely on cutscenes, which is almost seems fair on that one. Like, I get it. You would be blatantly infringing copyright if you took all the cutscenes from Persona 5 and just put them together in a video and put it on YouTube without any commentary or anything else to say about that. That being said, you could make an argument that there's still an avenue to have fair use criticism even on just talking about the cutscenes. So, as long as you did it in a limited fashion and you were talking over all of the cutscenes, there's still a fair use argument that you could go there.
Happy New Year.
At the end of the day, this is just a terrible system. The terrible line in the sand to draw. You've just irritated your entire consumer base that would want to stream it. By the way, if you're trying to stream this on the PlayStation, it's not going to allow you to do that. So the entire game is blocked on PS4. So that's, you would have to have a capture card. So that already eliminates most people. Honestly, if they had just blocked it all and done nothing else, they probably wouldn't have been too off there. They probably would have achieved the same amount of people. And now the Streisand effect is happening, and now more people are going to probably stream it. Because if I was a slightly smaller YouTuber and I didn't know the way YouTube has changed its rules, where it's harder to make a second account if you get banned from YouTube the first time, even though you're not technically allowed to do that. I would very possibly consider being one of the people that's just going to stream the whole game and see if they try to do a content ID thing. Because the first person that they do content ID or copyright strike is going to go right on YouTube and say, Atlas is attacking me, Atlas is being unfair, Atlas is not considering fair use. And it's going to get them so many more views than streaming the game by itself. And the Streisand effect is right there. There was a Skyrim mod that came out that lets you buy things directly off the shelves. I think that's an interesting concept to come out with, but I don't know if I really want to talk about Skyrim mods. There's already a YouTuber out there that covers Skyrim mods, and I think there's really only enough room in the YouTube verse for one guy to do that. And frankly, covering mods doesn't super appeal to me. Let's hope this works. I can't. I have to do this. I probably played that wrong there. Yeah, Hearthstone players think that they get too many duplicates. I already talked about that in the new expansion. Blizzard is saying no, which just frankly is slightly insulting. Like, when somebody gives your opinion and you say, I feel like there's too many duplicates, you don't just say no. And maybe that was just how the news article I read phrased it, but so maybe they said it a little bit nicer. but who knows. Let's see. This. Let's trigger this and see what happens.
Job's done.
Jeez, what is this weapon? How did I get this card? Oh, I stole it from him. Let's see. Play this. Do this. Play this.
Blood and plunder.
Here we go.
I go.
Get those shift cannons working for me
Job's done.
in the turn. StarCraft 2's lead gameplay designer has moved on to a new Blizzard project. The question there, is it a new project with a new IP, or is it a new project for a new game? Are we gonna see StarCraft 3? That would be the most interesting way to look at it, and there's a chance of that happening. Or are we gonna see maybe a Diablo 4, or maybe are we gonna see World of Warcraft? It says inside Blizzard, so we know it's not an Activision project. He's not moving over, even though Activision now owns Blizzard, which I think sucks. See, we got a comment here. That subject is all over Reddit. Well, I do watch Reddit, so frankly, I get a lot of my news from Reddit. So whichever subject I'm talking about, certainly does do that. Sadly, I can't figure out a way to promote myself because Reddit in general has a no shilling rule. So I don't bother to post anything on Reddit ever, because as a YouTube video game critic, I'm trying to get people to watch my videos, and unless other people post my videos and not like steal my videos and put them on their own website and then post them, but they push the share button and copy that share button to Reddit, that's there's nothing I can really do on that, and I really don't see a reason to spend my time on that conversation. The duplicate card thing is all over Reddit. I got a ton of duplicates when I opened card packs, and part of it is certainly the fact of the quests cards. I think if they, I hate to keep on pounding on this, but if they had given all of the quest cards, let's just play again with this. If they'd given all the quest cards for free at the beginning, getting extra duplicates at that point wouldn't be too bad, because there would only be a much smaller selection. There'd be at least 9 less legendaries in the expansion. Yeah, sure, if you want to post my videos to Reddit, or if anybody wants to, fine. If it gets anything, but I imagine, Loki, they're just going to call you a shill, because that's what happens. And frankly, that's what I am, too. I am there to shill my stuff and promote myself, and Reddit doesn't want people on there that are just there to promote themselves. They want normal people like you to say, I really do enjoy this, and check it out. There's been like one time I posted in one subreddit that I got a little bit of a shout out, and it didn't even at the end of the day add to my viewership much at all. And that was r/Diamond Club, because they have this weekly submission where you can promote your projects, and so I promoted my own project, and they shouted me out, and they did as much as they could. It just didn't get that much in the end. So I guess my channel didn't interest that audience enough. But yeah, if people want to put my videos on Reddit, fine. If people want to put links to my videos on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, whatever, all those services, share it to all your friends if you think I'm good and you think they'll like it. Or if you just think I suck and you want to tell your friends, hey, go look at this guy because he's so awful, it doesn't really matter to me. As long as I get the views. I try to be as blatant in my greed as far as views as possible. That this is my job. This is what I'm trying to do. Moving on to other news. Oh, actually, this is a news story about not news. And something that's not Destructoid. In relation to Gearbox working with GTA, put up a article titled "Gearbox partners with a guy in a trench coat to sell Bulletstorm," and then in parentheses it said Fox News, FAUX News. So they're making fun of Fox News there too. Faux news, it would be the right way to pronounce that. FAUX. And because of that, I've removed Destructoid from the list of things I follow on Twitter and read their articles, because I will not tolerate any news source putting up intentionally misleading things for clickbait. And even if you're joking, and this wasn't even an April Fool's Day joke, this came out after that. And so I'm not telling people not to follow Destructoid. I get some of these on my Twitter feed and I try them out for a while and then I get away from them. But I personally would recommend to people don't follow services and companies like that. That if they're not gonna give you 100% at least attempts at honesty, they're not worth your time. Yeah, everybody hates clickbait, Loki. Everybody hates clickbait except for everybody that falls for it. And I fall for clickbait all the time, and so I'm part of the problem, is that people click on clickbait and they don't even realize it's clickbait, because that's what clickbait does, is it disguises itself as something useful and do this. And I hate to use the politically charged phrase fake news, but it's total fake news to make up stories. It's things that should be prosecuted, or at the very least shunned. Alright, so I need one more paladin and priest victory. Let's see if we can get this done quickly. Assassin's Creed Far Cry 4 director has left Ubisoft to start a new studio, Typhoon Studios. You know what's funny is that's probably the best and only good news that came in this long list of news for this whole thing. That's really worth saying. And I'm not even saying that because I have that general hate for Ubisoft, although there are certainly things to dislike about Ubisoft. They also make some good games that I think are worth playing, even though they have that awful Uplay. But somebody getting out of a big corporate interest, big mega corporation like Ubisoft sounds great. My only fear, though, is he's going to go for a couple of years and then fail, and then Ubisoft is just going to buy his corporation back, because we've seen that happen a few times in the video game industries. Somebody leaves a company because they don't want to work for that big corporation, and then that big corporation buys shares in their new company and forces that person to continue to work for them, or worse, they buy out his company, and then the person who just built this company to get away from you, like a big corporation like Ubisoft, ends up losing their new company and having to either quit or be under contract. So I would guess you wouldn't want to put yourself under contract with even your new corporation.
Follow the rules.
Yep. Yep, all that clickbait stuff certainly can point you towards dangerous avenues. An interesting part of one article I was just reading talked about how it was, I think, on Reddit again, of just like, here's the list of all the anti-spyware, here's all the things you have to install on your computer. And I used to install like everything. CC Cleaner, I used to use Zone Alarm Firewall, I used to have like 3 or 4 anti-spyware, Spybot, Search and Destroy. All of these things installed on my computer. And eventually I just got down to, on Windows 10 or at least, feeling so safe enough to just let Windows Defender handle all of it. So while it is possible that my computer right now is just full of spyware, I don't think it is, because I've just adopted this policy of not installing anything on there, or installing everything through Steam, which I know Steam does at least some rudimentary virus spyware stuff installing. So I think I've developed a decent enough practices. Yeah, the problem with CC Cleaner and several of the other things is they go into the registry and change things, and I've noticed that if you try to stay with the same Windows install after a while, the changes that you made might slowly reduce the stability of your system, and so I've just determined and given up personally to the point where I only install video games from Steam, and if this Windows 10 version gets messed up, I'll just format the hard drive and reinstall it. And that's like, I've gotten so far away from wanting to do any IT stuff, and just worry about that stuff. I'm almost to the point where if Macintoshes could play games and they really were guaranteed to be virus free, I would play that. But I also ran Linux for a long time, and Linux is almost completely virus free because nobody cares to put a virus or make a virus for Linux, but it can't play any games. So in the end, I got forced to Windows 10, and I'm just living on a prayer, I guess. Moving on to news things, Valve is selling a real-life Counter-Strike Global Offensive 5-year veteran coin. So this is interesting, I think, at most, because it means Valve is selling something that's actually physical. Also, one of the Westworld actress Shannon Woodard is going to be in Last of Us 2. I'm not super happy about seeing that, because it seems like every time you get a actress or actor who is in front of a camera and have them do voice acting or mocap acting for a video game, they don't do a very good job of it, because it's just a different thing. It's a completely different thing, and I'd rather see the video game voice actors guild get work and not potentially hire this person who's already making money, a lot more money, doing her own thing, being an actress. The only thing that really gets against that idea is that for Last of Us 2, they probably are going to do full facial scans on her, so that actress's face will be in the game almost certainly. And that's weird in itself, because the last thing I want to do is recognize the characters in a video game as 3D models of real world people. I'd rather the video game characters be their own thing, not an actor playing a character. If that makes any sense. Like when I think of
I must move quickly.
like who would you say? When I think of Mario from the Mario games, I'm thinking of Mario. I'm not thinking of an actor playing Mario. But if they had, from the very beginning, always had some actor's face scanned into it, if Tom Cruise played Mario from the very first game, then I would consistently be thinking, well, that's Tom Cruise playing the character of Mario. And I just don't want that. Let's see, about to win. So, yeah. Okay. There's more viruses for Macs these days? Probably. I don't know the hard statistics there. But that's a good possibility, Loki. I wouldn't be surprised. So many people I know get on Macs and stupidly think they're safe that they are most definitely a more vulnerable community because they think they're safe and they're more likely to install things. But I'm not here to start a Mac versus PC war. When it comes to video games, PC Windows definitely wins that. If anything, I'm gonna side with Linux if you're just talking the best operating system ever in general, because that is a more stable system, I think, than even Windows 10, but it's kind of close. Alright, that's going to be it for recordings today. Stay tuned if you're watching live. We're going to just do a little bit of more stuff. Oddly, let's see. Well, oddly, I'm going to just cover all of the news. Maybe right now is the Bulletstorm remaster. We already talked about that. Pokemon Go people have been named in lawsuits because people are trespassing playing the game. New Pokemon Go co-op experiences are coming. Activision plans many years of Marvel-like movie TV shows based off of their IPs, particularly Call of Duty. A UK ad authority rules against Liberator's developer, the Liberator's game developer for misleading images and ads. The Scorpio sounds powerful. Darkest Dungeon has full mod support now with Steam support. Man, I had so much here. The University of Utah is the first top sports school to have esports championships. The BAFTA Awards happened. They seem to have some decent choices. A For Honor patch has come out to try to make things better. Same for Dark Souls 3. If Dark Souls 3 patch came trying to make things better. I don't think For Honor is going to get there, though. YouTube's adpocalypse is crazy. I talked about that already. CD Projekt Red, this trademark is not part of a vast conspiracy. It's just them trying to protect their chances of having a Cyberpunk 2077 sequel without getting in trouble with the law. Ukulele was patched, still probably not that good of a game. Ghost in the Shell movie, we talked about that. And Yooka-Laylee now is not part of Play Anywhere now, and the Windows 10 version has been pushed back, which is interesting. So those are the other news things that I'm going to talk about with the rest of the stream, but that's going to be it. So, as always, stay tuned if you're watching live. I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.